1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
Good morning, guys.
Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
So, hey, I'm James Hake of the Hake Report. This is the fourth hour of the Jesse Lee Peterson Show, and it is 9 a.m. Pacific Time, Monday, July 29th, 2019. We're in the last 3 days of White History Month, but don't be afraid because Men's History Month is coming up, and let's squeeze out the last bits of white history that we can. Call in with your contributions, 888-775-3773. 888-775-3773. I was listening to Alex Newman, Jesse Lee Peterson's guest, talking about how the schools are brainwashing the kids. And it's not just the schools, it's social media. It is the parents. The parents are so brainwashed themselves, brainwashing each other. And it's not just the liberals or the people we call evil. It's amongst ourselves too. I think that's why Jesse's asking the question, do you know right from wrong, and should you teach your children? Should children be taught right and wrong? It's an interesting question because I was taught right and wrong. Speaking of white history, in my white history, I was taught right and wrong stuff, and I turned out kind of nice, I guess. Typical white, I guess. But I don't know if it was exactly right because I don't know. It seems like as I look at my life and I look at the rest of the family, the community, the country, and everything else, it seems like the Christians, of which my family is Christian, are just letting the country go and letting their family go, to be honest, and their own lives go. Speaking of life, I have been eating a little bit better. I had a habit since like high school, towards the end of high school, to eat properly because, health stuff getting in the way, and I was a runner, so-called. I used to run cross-country and track. And so I started maybe I should be eating vegetables. Maybe I should be reading the Bible, stuff like that. And so I started eating vegetables. And especially, I think the health thing forced it because I had health issues growing up that I should not be having in high school. But it seems like a lot of people actually do. A large minority, I would say. And so I started eating vegetables. And I never ate out. I never had the habit of eating out. The eating out was like a odd pressure. They're like, what do you want? I don't know. There's so many things to choose from at these places, at these fast food restaurants, McDonald's and stuff. Plus, I didn't like ketchup, mustard, mayo, pickles, relish, olives, onions. Grilled onions, okay. I learned to like them. No sour cream. No, although you can trick me with sour cream if you put Southwest in it or something, or make it into ranch. You can trick me, I guess. And I don't like mayo, but I like aioli because it has that flavor to it. It's not that disgusting eggy whatever. So I started, but then I eventually started eating out because I started to pour myself more into work after college and stuff. And then I also stopped exercising too, because after work I would go exercise, but when I started putting more and more and more hours into work, 11, 12, 13, it's funny, I see Joelle saying, we're fat, but I know that's no Joelle typing. I started putting in, 10, 11, 12, 13 hours into work or more. Then I started kind of neglecting that stuff, exercise. And so I better start turning stuff around, especially being in my late 30s. practically 40 years old. 40 years old, and otherwise I'm going to be white history, or not so white history. I'm going to be dead history, like the Antifa guy who's, I guess he was 69 years old. I thought he was like 73. This Antifa guy, a white man named Willem Van Spronson, whatever. He was white, and now he's dead. No longer white. Because after you're dead, I don't think you stay that race. I think you just become either a lost soul or a found soul. And, really? Oh. And somebody named Nick is typing, but I don't think it's Nick typing. It's so confusing. When we do this switch from the Jesse Lee Peterson show to the Hake Report, different people take over different positions and stations, and yet they're still logged into the old name. So I have Dylon typing from Nick's desk and Nick typing from Joel's desk, and I know Joel's not fat, saying we're fat. It's such a mess. But yeah, I really don't like the white personality lately. There are some very strong personalitied white guys. One of them, I called him a snake in the grass yesterday. I called two frequent callers, fans of the Jesse Lee Peterson show and of the Hake Report, honestly, snakes in the grass. And one of them, like, we already knew, he's continued to prove me right. And then the other, I don't know, he's more upfront, and he's always been very forceful. And he seems to have like a forceful personality. He roasted me in the past. He called me said I look like a beta. I need to work out at the gym. And I think he's a veteran, this guy Robert from Kansas. And so maybe he's thinking about what I told him. I don't know. But I haven't really heard from him. I had kicked him off of Facebook because he's like always constantly talking about the Jew stuff. There's a lot of whites who are reacting to the white weakness and the attack on the whites by going like the opposite extreme from weakness into another kind of weakness, blaming and retreating into conspiracy theories and stuff. And I say conspiracy theory not so much dismissively, but kind of dismissively. Not to say that it's a derogatory term. It's just a term that is frequently used. And I heard that it was given by the CIA speaking of conspiracies, to the media, and they accepted it. Something like that. FBI, somebody. And I accept that. I don't mind it. The thing is, these guys called in to my show talking about when I was making a broader point about white weakness brought on terrorism on my Sunday show. You can check it out on my channels, Hake Report channels. It brought all this terrorism that we're facing and the degeneracy, the decline of white people is white's own fault, right? And other people are helping it along, cheering it on, but it is white's fault, our fault. And I was making that broader point, and then they clung on to the fact that I mentioned 9/11, and I didn't question it, or I didn't say, oh, we all know 9/11 didn't happen, or didn't happen in the way that they told us that it happened. But that's like a side point, and I really don't care about the issue. I care about the present. I care about what we know. And then they want to get into this stuff about Jesus, acting like they care or know Jesus. They don't. And then, like, getting real nasty. Crazy. So, but they like us. I like them. But they are snakes. Especially the one. Anyways, shout out to Jesse Lee Peterson's YouTube, Periscope, Mixer, D Live. Thank you guys. And we will get to the rest of your super chats. I know some of you have given on Streamlabs. Tomorrow. We'll do it tomorrow because I want Jesse to respond to them. So, little update from the news report that I gave you guys earlier in this show. Drudge reports and via heavy.com. Liberal outlet, but they're useful for information. Santino William Lagan, age 19, has been identified by CBS News as the suspect in the mass shooting at the Gilroy Garlic Festival last night, yesterday evening, afternoon, in California, NorCal. Trump tweeted about this, too, about it was basically like an active shooter incident. Although he was killed within minutes or a minute of opening fire, they believe that there is an accomplice. They don't know what capacity he was an accomplice to, and they don't even really know the motive of this guy, but he was nuts. He was like an angry guy. The shooting Sunday night on the final day of the annual event at Christmas Hill Park in Gilroy left 3 dead, 15 injured, and the suspected shooter, Ligon, killed by police. So 4 dead total. Several others were injured in the chaos after the shots were fired, but were not shot, according to authorities. A second suspect was still on the run. Police remained at the scene of the shooting Sunday night into Monday investigating. They had helicopters, canines, that's dogs, hunting. There's a creek in that area. Supposedly the story is the guy went through the creek to avoid metal detectors. 100,000 people come to this event. It's like the biggest food fest, one of the biggest food festivals, if not the biggest. And there are metal detectors to get into the area, the security fencing around it. They use a tool like probably bolt cutters or something to break through the fence, cut through the fence, security fence, sneak through, avoid the metal detectors. I say they, but it's at least one guy, maybe 2. And he had a rifle, I was about to say army fatigues, but camouflage fatigues, was wearing a handkerchief around his neck, maybe around his head, his face, and opened fire. And somebody asked him, "What are you doing this for?" And he said, "Because I'm angry." 19-year-old. Male. Supposedly white. They'll probably call him white. He was Italian and Iranian descent. So he touted on Instagram. Santino. William Ligon. Or Lagan, whatever. So a second suspect was still on the run. Police remained on the scene. They've been searching for the second suspect around the densely wooded park area since Sunday evening, and the feds are involved. A motive for the shooting has not yet been made public. The shooting happened about 5:40 p.m. local time, so this is broad daylight around this time of year. And this festival was set to end in just 20 minutes from that point, 6 p.m. One witness told reporters they'd come face to face with the gunman and asked why he was doing this. And he was told, "Because I'm really angry," like I told you. During the shooting, witnesses say they heard dozens of shots and trying to get to safety as shots rang out. And Ligon, who identifies as being Italian and Iranian descent, posted on Instagram right before the shooting. The account was removed and it had just 3 posts, and I think I have at least 2 of them. Or I have like his... There it is. He said, if you can't read that, he said, "Hey, garlic festival time. Come get wasted on overpriced SH blank." So he seemed like an irritable type of a guy. Ligon's grandfather, Tom Ligon, was a West Point graduate. That means a military guy. He was Santa Clara County supervisor, was accused and acquitted of sexually assaulting his daughter. This was back in 1988. He was acquitted by a jury of the alleged rape of his eldest daughter. The LA Times reported that he was found innocent Friday of 3 counts of molesting his elder daughter in 1982. Ligon was seeking re-election at the time. He died in May of 2018. So a year ago, his granddad died, and his brother was a noted boxer. Whatever. Crazy times. Mass shootings becoming the norm. I don't know if they've been the norm ever since guns have been around. Who knows? But evil is definitely on the rise. People have messed up families, messed up spirits, messed up lives. And men especially. And white men too. And they're committing suicide, committing murders. And if they're not doing that, they're just leading... I want to say moderate, but that's not the right word for it. Mediocre lives, unhappy lives. So, it's crazy. Let me get to some calls, and then I want to talk about a Trump tweet that I really liked that came out. I don't know if Jesse mentioned it. Mike from San Diego. How are you doing, Mike? California.
Yeah, buddy. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you for calling.
James Hake. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Happy White History Month. Is this the last day of it? We're coming down to it.
We're coming down to it. There's 31 days in July, thank God. One of the longest
Yeah.
months of the year. One of the
Dude,
longest daylight.
It's been a great month, man.
Yeah.
What a great month.
Yep.
So, I'm a white boy, if you want to say so.
Yeah.
Because I'm a mix of all sorts of different white people. Some of my ancestors were Vikings. Some of them were Irish. Some of them are English.
Yeah.
And we're just, at this point, it's many generations of just mixing and mixing. So who even knows what we are? But my skin is
Right.
white, if you want to call it that.
I hear that we shouldn't be using the term white boy because it's emasculating. What do you say to that?
I don't know, man. It is kind of weird because it's sort of just like a way of distinguishing from a black.
Are you an adult male?
Yeah, I am.
So maybe you should say white man.
White man, exactly.
Is it weird to call yourself
people,
a man?
What was that?
Is it weird to call yourself a man?
I'm getting more used to it now.
But it was, but it was weird.
It was because I was a boy, so I hung on to it as long as I could because Peter Pan was my favorite movie when I was a kid, and I always just wanted to be a boy.
That's some nasty propaganda, huh? I used to think Peter Pan was pretty benign, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? Some people say this country was founded by white people, but then also it was really actually founded by like Englishmen.
Yeah.
From England, not just all the white people, but now it's been so long that it's really a mix of everybody.
Yeah. With all the diversity pushed on us.
I still do notice though that those of us who are, let's say, white, we do seem to, not everybody, but most of us have a little bit of a different perspective than, non-whites who are coming from other countries and living in non-white neighborhoods. They seem to be kind of like living differently than we do.
Not just a little bit of different, quite different. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole concept of fairness and free speech and justice that whites have, the majority of whites have, that the majority of them do not have. A minority of them do pick it up or have it, but it's strange. That's why we need White History Month, because there's something there that is unappreciated about whites, and there's an imitation cropping up, an imitation fairness, imitation love, imitation everything, that is basically America's becoming a bad imitation of itself, and it's already basically happened. But we have people that know the truth. And then there's people that maybe don't know the truth. They know facts and they know something's wrong and they don't like it. And then the fight is to keep it a battle between good and evil, so that you recognize the evil within and overcome that. Because otherwise, you're not going to be able to defeat the evil outside.
Yeah, for sure. It starts from the within. I've been experiencing that a lot lately. I'm changing so much.
Nice.
Cool.
That's a nice report.
Hey,
How did you change?
Well, dude, Jesse's been helping me with that like a bunch, and I've been having like real kind of awakenings in my life, bit by bit.
What's an example of how he helped, and like what happened?
Well, I went and did the forgiving my parents thing, and it just blew my mind, bro. And not only just in that moment, it was a real interesting experience. But since then, it's just been kind of like unfolding. Literally every day, I have new kind of awareness and insight, and also more and more like peace and joy inside as I just kind of start seeing the world in a different way. How could I summarize that? Like, I'm starting to realize, man, you know what? One thing that Jesse says so much is don't have opinions about things. And he's so right, man, because that's connected to how we're playing God. Like, we're trying to make the world what we think it should be all the time. And we're trying to make our life into what we want it to be and trying to make our relationships how we think they should go. But that's not up to us. It's really just like we are supposed to just kind of be open to what God has for us and open to what life is actually about. And it's something that's way beyond what we can even understand and what we can control. We can just go with it. And man, when I'm getting like more and more in tune with that on the daily, and it feels great. I'm not going to lie. It just feels really good. So I'm going with it. And I feel more hopeful all the time too. Not like looking to the future hope, but just more like I feel less dread about how things are. I feel like more, hey, there's something going on that's, I think, good, and I'm just going to go with it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Nice.
So in practical terms, like things that I know for sure would have got to me and ruined my day or made me upset or made me like say something that later I would regret, now those things just like slide right by. And even if I do feel a little thing that comes up in the moment, like a thought that makes me angry or something, I see it, man. I see it like right away. I notice like, wow, why do I feel like this? And I can hear the thought in my mind that's connected to that terrible feeling. And I realize immediately, oh, that's just another lie. I don't have to believe that. That's a setup. Like Jesse says, it's setting me up to ruin my day or to ruin my life or to ruin.
Yeah.
They are. Those thoughts are just setups that are designed to trip us. And now I just like skip right by them. I'm like, nope, I don't believe that. And then all of a sudden everything's great again.
That's cool, man. You have any other questions?
Okay, my question is, do you think that we might be coming to a civil war between the right and the left at some point coming up?
No, I don't really think in those terms. Because, you can see the attacks on one another happening, Antifa being totally evil and people defending them. But, I just don't, in terms of that, I've never seen a civil war happen before, in real life, right here in my face. And so I don't know what it looks like when it's coming. And so I couldn't really say that, yes, I see a civil, I just don't see it. I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but I don't think it's wise to say that it's coming if you don't know for sure. And I do see there is a type of civil war. It's like a spiritual civil war because we have so many people totally on the side of evil. And then there's the rest of us, most of the rest of us are on the side of evil, but we don't like the side of evil. And so we end up like trying to fight against it, but we're like blind. And so we end up kind of helping it. I don't know if you've seen that happen in your life, but it happens with me and a lot of people. Like the snakes in the grass. I think we're all snakes in the grass until we're truly born again. You know what I mean? So,
it's true.
So like when I called those guys that, I wasn't meaning it like a personal attack. I'm just saying it like I see it. And I'm not saying that I'm better than them either. But I just, I feel that, like I see your question written down from the screener, how will we win? I think that it just has to be, each individual has to wake up and then we'll be able to see the way to go. Does that make sense? Because right now we're in like, it feels like it's lost. I thought the country was totally lost before Trump came on the scene. I was like, Hillary's going to be president. I said, Obama, I didn't know if you guys, I didn't know that anybody my age or younger thought the way I did. Basically, I thought that everybody was brainwashed or like a useless, nice Christian. Not to, you know what I mean, though. So I think that there's... I
think the country was lost. I think we were lost. And when Trump got elected, that was like the last minute little thing that somehow has given us a chance to actually come back from the clutches of defeat. I think we were lost.
Yeah.
And it's not that he saved us himself, but he broke open a way that we might be able to save ourselves. I think he gave us our one last chance.
Yeah.
And I think we are going to be okay. And look, like you said, I'll end on this because I know you want to get on to more callers, but I don't know if there's a civil war coming, but I've heard a really good case, and it was put like this, that for the last decade, let's call them the children of the lie. It's a perfect thing to call them. But those on the left who are seeking power through manipulation and guilt and lies and stuff, they've been taking over our country. And one of the main ways they've been doing it is by changing our demographics.
Yeah.
They've been changing our demographics they've been turning our country into a non-white country.
Right.
And they've been turning it into a shithole in a way so that they can control it more easily. But what's coming up is maybe right after Trump, even like right now, it's kind of a miracle Trump even got elected because of electoral college and things like that. Like we squeaked by this one. We barely made it.
Yeah.
But soon it's going to be to where there's way more non-white people than white people, and there's going to be so many more leftist Democrats who are looking for free stuff than there are white conservatives who want things to be fair and we want to work have conservative values. We're going to be so far outnumbered that we can't even win any more elections.
Yeah.
And if that happens, then I think when all the conservatives on the right, who have all the guns, by the way, when we see that we have no chance of winning any more elections, I think it might come down to actual war to fight for our country back.
Yeah,
I don't know. I hope it doesn't come to that, but it might.
This is like, it reminds me of, there's a lot of whites who will talk big and say like, just wait until we get mad. You know, it's like, why are you guys waiting around to get mad when you see that evil is continuing and you're not, you know, like I've heard a lot of wise people say, including Jesse, that, you know, stopping evil starts with just speaking up. And then after a while, speaking up is not enough. And because you've allowed it to escalate and grow in more power and more brazenness and just shamelessness. If you let it go too far, then you have to do something bigger about it. Yeah. But I just don't, that's not going to be, it's not going to be any good.
Dude, I hope like I really hope not.
The real Civil War, correct me if I'm wrong, I heard that it was 600,000 people killed between the North and the South. You guys can look it up.
I think it'll be way worse this time. I think if it really came down to it and there was a civil war, our society would break down so far. I think millions of people will die just from starvation, just because everybody depends on food showing up in the grocery store every day and stuff like that. Like if that got turned off, if our power grid went down for a few weeks, stuff like that, millions are going to die, dude.
Yeah, and we're not the survivors that we once were. We're not hardy. Well, some people are, but a lot of us
we don't have
are
farms
out of shape.
And pigs, and we can't. What are we going to do?
Yeah,
like we're just living off the system, and if the system stops, we're all going to like really, really hurt.
Yeah.
But,
that's why I don't really. There are some alt-right people. There are some preppers that are into being prepared for anything, and I respect that to a point. You can't go crazy with it, but it is something to be wise. You got to be, at least have like a week's worth, 2 weeks worth of food stored up or more, and so that if you're desperate, and be in shape so that you can function in a challenging situation. But
there's this one guy who has a YouTube channel that has good information on this. He's a really good guy. Do you mind if I shout him out real quick? Like say the name of his channel?
You know what? Tell the screener. I'll put you on hold. Tell the screener, Mike. And then
cool.
We'll put it out there. Appreciate it, man.
You should check it out too, man. You're gonna dig it.
All right. Cool. Take care, Mike.
All right, James.
Good to hear from you. All right. Let's see. Josh from Ohio. Josh, thanks for holding, man. Happy White History Month. Hey.
Can you hear me, man?
Yeah.
Hey, I talked to you a few days ago. New subject, though. I was the guy that was talking to you about willful sin and not, you know.
Willful sin. Okay, cool.
Yeah, obviously we just have a little different, we don't have to talk about
You're the one that was preaching you were the one that was preaching at the gym. You preach at the gym
or wherever. But you know what? I think the White History Month thing is I actually cracked up, man, when I seen the I'm going to celebrate with my friends, the little video.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. But in all actuality, man, it's like yesterday I saw this guy post something on Facebook, an African-American friend of mine. And there was like a picture of a black guy or two black kids who got arrested at a lemonade stand, right? And then there was a picture of white kids taking a picture with cops that didn't. And he said something along the lines of, we'll see how that's not fair. So I YouTubed kids getting arrested for lemonade stands. And sure enough, I found one of white kids getting arrested by a black cop. So then I posted that on there like, hey, man, it's all about the individual, right? Like, you got to take each cop. Not every cop's racist. Obviously, I know you guys agree the media is pushing this racist thing, but
Yeah, not any
the whole
cop
point
is
is
racist.
that with the White History Month thing, it's like, I feel like as Christians, and I'm not disagreeing, like, I get where you guys are coming, like, to say, like, hey, I think that's why you guys do it, to kind of say, like, it's not right to just make a Black History Month, everybody matters. But at the same time, it's like the Bible said, it's neither Greek nor Jew. We're all one in Christ. I almost feel like it's fighting fire with fire. You know what I mean?
Is fighting fire with fire wrong?
Yeah, like, it's almost like two wrongs don't make it right. Like, we're doing what we don't want other people to do. 'Cause, like,
what is
honesty,
that? What is that we're doing that we don't want other people to do?
Well, like for instance, they got a Black History Month, and it's like, well, everybody matters. Why should we don't have a specific Greek History Month? Like, I'm Greek, for instance, right? The guy I was talking to that introduced the phone calls in, he's Jewish. And, like, I got a friend from Albania. I know a Russian kid, a German kid. Like, these cultures are so different, but we just consider it vaguely white.
Yeah,
and
I know.
It's like, what is White History Month? Like, it's just a bunch of different people.
You know, I was thinking about how in school, this is kind of a side note, we learned about WASPs, White Anglo-Saxon Protestants, because those are the ones, I think, that founded America for the most part. Some of them were kind of more skeptical of religion, I hear. But they were deists or whatever, meaning they believed in a god, I guess, is what deist means. But anyways, white Anglo-Saxon, which is like British German, I think, and Protestant, meaning Christian, not Catholic, were the ones who started America, and they're the ones who the most hold true to America's, the ideals of justice, freedom. A lot of times they do get fooled, but they tend to be more conservative, tend to be more sane, tend to be have an idea of a concept of freedom and of justice that isn't fake justice, such as social justice. And you mentioned I think your explanation for why we have white history is lacking, because we have White History Month because there is a specific attack on white people. And it is all white people that they're attacking, but especially the white conservative, straight Christian men of power like Trump.
I agree. I do agree with you on that.
And so we need to correct the record, because they're lying about people who are alive, and they're lying about people who are dead. Like Robert E. Lee is a better man than any of them that are trying to take down his monuments, but they're taking down his monuments because of slavery. And so then they're just being so melodramatic about slavery, when in reality there's worse evil than slavery. And I don't know if slavery is necessarily that evil. It's just it was a fact of life, and we prefer freedom, but people are not free today. We have people stuck in gangs. They can't get out of the gangs. We have people that are mental slaves to fear. Whites are afraid to speak up about anything, really, except for Trump is not afraid. And then the blacks are enslaved to the anger. And fear and anger are the same thing, so the blacks and whites are both in hell together. It's just that the whites are still doing a little bit better because they're better trained on a physical level.
The only part that I agree with a lot of what you're saying, the only thing that I just don't like to say whites, blacks, and I know this.
Why do you shy from that? Why do you shy from that? Because there's a reality there's a reality that whites are under attack, and you agree with that. But then why do you shy from that?
Well, I agree. No, I don't agree that just whites are under attack. I agree. Like,
I didn't say just whites.
White males who are conservative are under attack.
Well, I mean, look at even Joe Biden. He's no conservative. He's no Christian. He fakes to be Catholic, but he's under attack because he's white. He represents everything that they hate, just on a physical level. They're so shallow that they look at the physical. So all whites are under attack.
There is this thing in America where it's like, even like you guys were talking in the call before, the whole white boy thing, it's really an insult.
That's true.
In my eyes, it's like that's what I was.
But who cares though, man?
I'm third
to be honest,
generation Greek.
Okay.
So when somebody calls me and it's like I don't identify. Like when somebody says just white boy, your family is part of the reason of the
Right.
my ancestors were slaves. Like, my family wasn't here. My Paul got here in the early 1900s, way after that. You know what I mean?
And they should be grateful to those white people that brought their family here, because then they get to be here. You should be grateful for your position in life.
Yeah,
But anyways,
what's ironic
like,
is a lot of the African Americans
I recommend not being offended by that, not getting hung up on that, because people are just gonna stay, as the word goes, ignorant, and they're gonna be malicious. They're gonna say what they say, no matter how much you correct the record. People lie, and I know that I think that white people, and I think a lot of people, period, get mad because people are gonna hold to a lie and just repeat it and be stubborn and offend you and make up stuff about you that isn't true, or about your family that isn't true. And I recognize that can be annoying and obnoxious, but we have to overcome that. We have to overcome being annoyed and at these people. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to wake them up. You're just going to get mad, and they're going to be like, "See, angry white man."
Yeah, you see that's why originally what I was what I was saying when I first called is that I see it more that we should go by neither Greek nor Jew. I look at it as this. I don't look at it as left and right or black and white. I look at it as up or down. You're either of God or you're of the devil. So it's like, are you saved or are you not saved? Because to be honest with you, I grew up in a church, Hake, that was 50% black, 50% white, like down the middle. And I know so many black people who honestly act nothing like the stereotype, like just honest, good people who treat you just as you were African American. Like they treat me just the same. Like my best friend.
What's your point with that? What's your point with that? Why should we not acknowledge that whites are under attack for being white, basically?
No, the only point I'm making is that like the Bible says, we're all one in Christ. So once you get saved, your heart changes, and no matter what your color is, you're going to show that. You know what I mean?
I know, but you're trying to skip steps. I feel. You know, like, yes, that's when we get to heaven, so called. If we get to heaven, we're neither Jew nor Greek. Blah blah blah. We're either in heaven or hell. But here in the present day, there is different smears upon different cultures, and there's different attacks upon different cultures, and we have to address those with some common sense. And you can think that way in your heart, but the reality is other people see things in a worldly sense, and you have to explain things in worldly terms to those people.
For sure. Let me ask you this.
And the same thing too. Christ says that after everybody dies or people go to heaven, whatever, there's neither marriage nor given, and people are neither married nor given in marriage. So are you going to ignore the concept of marriage because we're on Earth? You're trying to skip Earth to pretend to be in heaven already?
Sir. What that scripture means to me is when you read that, it says there's neither Greek nor Jew, nor bond nor free. We're all one in Christ, as in right now. Like once you accept Jesus,
I know,
your heart changes.
But the reality
it's not even about we're all one in Him.
The reality is the Bible also says each person should remain in the position that they're in. Are you a slave? Don't let it bother you. If you can get your freedom, do so. Are you a slave master? Be right toward your slaves. And so all those things, all those positions in life do exist.
No, yeah, for sure. Hey, you know,
and you keep on holding on to your Greekness. You talk about how you're Greek, and so you're trying to correct the record on these people calling you a white boy whose ancestors enslaved them.
Right? It just sounds ignorant.
So you don't totally reject your your physical past.
Yeah, you know what it kind of is this too. Hey, listen to this point. Is that like?
All right, real fast. I'm sorry, I've been holding on you.
If you get me one more question, I'll ask you this then instead of that. Do you agree then that African Americans get stereotyped just like white guys get called white boy and nerdy and coward?
Let me real quick. How old are you, and how come you call them African Americans?
Black, whatever, man. I'm just I
how
call
old
them
are
black
you?
and African American in this call. I don't whatever.
How old are you?
How old am I? I'm 30, sir.
Man.
But here's the thing.
training.
Like I told you, I grew up in a black and I'm from Cincinnati. I grew up in a black and a white world. It wasn't just a white world.
But they didn't call themselves
everybody
African
loved
Americans.
everybody.
Anyways. All right, go with your question real fast.
Yeah, the question is this. Would you agree that just as white men get called white boy and cowards, and they get demeanored as being like sissies, that's obviously the way they're pushed, would you agree that black guys get stereotyped as all thugs and all have no love, all have anger? Because that's not true. I'm telling you, I know many black people who would give you the shirt off their back and treat me as a white man or Greek, whatever you want to call me, just the same as them. It's the truth. I'm telling you.
But maybe that's what you experience. I mean, I don't know a majority of anybody who actually has real love. And so I know very few people who have real love. So I don't really buy that up? Because I grew up in Temple City, El Monte area outside of Los Angeles, where there's a bunch of Hispanics and Asians. Yeah, whites were a minority. And so, really? But the point is, like, I don't really buy that from you when you say that, because you're such a nice guy, right? Of course they're going to be nice to you while you're a nice guy. I don't see you, like, even when I disagreed with you, you're like, I don't see you crossing anybody in the wrong way. I don't see you.
Yeah, I just don't
telling
I try. Hey,
I don't see you telling the hard truth to them.
Treat everybody as you want to be treated.
I know, but you may be taking that.
Yeah. Hey, I will tell you though, I got a gun pulled on me and my father. My uncle got jumped downtown.
I'm sure you're in Cincinnati.
Say it again.
I said I'm sure you're from Cincinnati.
Yeah, dude, I was 9 years old one time, and me and my dad had a gun pulled on us. And you know what? I remember distinctively. Because I grew up in church, and I'm like, you know what? I can't let this. For like a few weeks, I had this like fear of like, hey, it's going to happen again. And then I just remember having a talk with my dad, like, hey, that's just those guys. It's not everybody. And you know, I wasn't raised to be racist. And I'm not saying that you are at all. I'm just saying that there are good people in every culture. Bad. I know what you guys say about good. Let's say there's decent people in every culture. And people who aren't, you know what I mean? It's just that's the way the world is. It doesn't. I don't.
But
they're either
the thing is, Josh.
God or
the
not.
thing is, Josh. Everybody knows that. Even the people that you would label as so-called racist, they already know that. So you're not telling anybody anything that they don't know by saying that there are decent people.
A lot of times, it goes on both ends. There's as many black people racist as there are white. I'll tell you that.
I wouldn't say that.
I think a lot of people think that that's not true, but
First of all, racism doesn't exist, and that's not true. Like, by far, blacks are the most hung up on race. So normal people, like people that believe in racism, consider blacks.
Well, by
the honest
definition,
ones consider blacks the most
you don't like
racist.
someone because of their skin color.
Yeah,
so
and
it exists because there's people who don't like you because you're white, right? So
no, but it's not even really because I'm white. It's because of the lies that they've been told that the skin represents. So they associate it wrongly. But anyway, Josh, man, I gotta go.
Yeah, hey, good talk, brother. Good talk.
Yeah, you
today,
too,
man. I'll hit you up again. All right.
All right. Take care.
God bless you, man.
You as well. Bye. Trenix, out of New Jersey. Trenix, thanks for holding, man.
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
So, yeah, I got a question. Why do you think whites hate Jews?
Because a lot of the Jews represent evil, and the whites are making the mistake of hating the evil rather than overcoming it. And in doing that, they're not recognizing the evil within themselves, and then they're kind of becoming they're being overcome by evil rather than overcoming it with good. Make sense?
So I'm kind of confused. One of the things I could barely hear you, to be honest, but I'm guessing you're saying that because they think Jews are evil. Do you think
No,
that
I didn't
Jews
say
are
that.
Evil?
I said because a lot of them are evil. A lot of Jews are evil, and so the whites are hating the evil, and then rather than overcoming it, they're not recognizing the evil within themselves, and so they're hating the evil, becoming even more evil, hating the evil people, and so that's why.
Oh.
Yeah, when people are evil, like Obama was real evil, and he's a very hateable person. And then the ADL, which is a Jewish anti-defamation organization, they defame white people and Christians and others like crazy, real evil. And evil people like that are very, if you have any hatred in your heart and you oppose them, what they're about, then you're gonna hate them, and that's gonna just tempt you into evil. Obama was a troll in that way, and by troll I mean like he blatantly lied. A lot of people bought the lies, and a lot of people could see the lies, and they hated him for the lies, and that's how he kept on winning. But Trump is telling the truth, and it's nice to see that. And he's trolling the people, the truth haters with the truth, and the people who have more love for the truth, tends to be more whites. They love him for it, or they like him, appreciate him for it. And so it's a battle between good and evil. But there's these situations where different groups have these different idiosyncrasies, where they fall into different states of mind.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, because the thing is, like I get you shouldn't hate anybody, and I myself don't hate anybody either. But I definitely know why white people are starting to hate Jews, and I know that's wrong. But I think they should definitely be hating the actions that they're doing. Like, for example, around this area, I want to give you a list of things.
But
why
hey,
I think
that's not right. That's not a right application either. I don't think it doesn't ring true to me, because we can say that all we want. Like, I don't hate you, I hate the actions. But that's just basically a trick of the mind to fool yourself into thinking that you're justified. There's righteous anger and there's unrighteous anger, but in our fallen state, we most of the time think our anger is righteous when it's not. People because anger is basically self-righteousness, right? So you become self-righteous and you think, oh, I'm righteously angry about evil, and it is the evil, so you think it's righteous, that the stuff that you're angry at, most of the time it is evil, and then you're not realizing that you're actually evil.
Yeah,
so it's a trick. It's a trick to say, oh, I don't hate them, I hate what they do. That's a trick of the
mind. I guess
mind.
you shouldn't hate anything. I guess that makes sense, but I guess a better way of saying it is you don't like it, right?
I don't know. It's somehow we need to get to be objective.
But yeah, I made a whole list. I don't know if you want me to go through it really quick.
Of
what kind of things that they actually do around here, and why I think white people actually hate them for it.
Around New Jersey?
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you 30 seconds. Go.
All right, so I'll go really quick. So first of all, they have a bunch of kids, and of course they get free they get tax cuts and all that kind of stuff. Even money from the government.
You can't blame them for that one.
Also,
you're talking about blacks, or are you talking about Jews there?
No, I'm talking about that's the funny thing about it is that you wouldn't believe it, but Jews are kind of like blacks. They do the same stuff. That's why to me it's like a contradiction when you guys.
Hey, how come you hate somebody for taking advantage of the system and having kids? Having kids is not necessarily a bad thing.
You're right, but I mean, if you're going to have kids, you should be able to take care of them by yourself, not with any assistance. I mean, that's the thing.
That's why. I mean, to me, that's not a reason to be angry at the people taking advantage of it. I mean, yeah, they're evil for taking advantage of it, but there's a bigger system that we should deal with. Anyways, I'll give you 30. I stopped you. Finish your 30 seconds.
Okay.
Go.
So another thing is I heard that they actually put their houses around churches and they consider their homes as a place of worship, so they don't get taxed for it. Of course, they also take food stamps, and here there were actually FBI raids. So they were getting food stamps as they were making millions. They started doing all these FBI raids. They claimed anti-Semitism, and all these kind of cases just went away. The funny thing about it, if you go down the block, you can see all these people moving out, all the stuff outside being thrown out because everybody was afraid. Another thing is that actually there's a lot of Jews that are illegal. They're from Israel that come over here and are illegal. And I know this, and I've had experience of this where, for example, they'll go into a car accident or something like that, and they'll flee to Israel, and you have to deal with the consequences. I had that happen with my family members. They claim anti-Semitism just like blacks, like I mentioned before. In fact, I actually saw a billboard saying, if you see any type of hate or whatever, any anti-Semitism, to call your local police officer.
Yeah.
That sheet, when you go into an accident or if you have any criminal problem in the areas where they live at, you not only have to get the police officer from that area, but also a police officer that's like a Jewish police officer. I'm not even kidding you. This is for real. They also have their own hospital as well, but whatever. I mean, I don't care about that. But the police officer thing is just ridiculous.
So it sounds,
apparently for anti-Semitism reasons or whatever.
All right. So you're referring to like the low-class stuff that they're doing. And I hadn't heard some of this stuff before, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I got a huge list
It's
in this,
just like,
and they can keep going
just
and
like
going. And I.
But those aren't unique to those people because what you described is everything that black. Well, it's not really because it's the same thing that the blacks and the Hispanics and everybody else are doing. The Muslims too. Sounds like evil people, but it's funny because you're describing the stuff that's not unique to them, whereas there is stuff that is unique to them that people actually do hate them for because it's about the direction of the country.
Personally knowing them and dealing with them and having other people in my family also deal with them, I mean, this is common. This is the norm. And I think that's why a lot of people, like when they call in, they talk about, I mean, what they do is they call in and say a bunch of like hate and crap like that. And like, I'm not for that. Like, that's just stupid. I just like to call out the evil. So like, everyone could recognize stuff and people could change. But if we do this, like, this is the same thing where you guys do with blacks. You call out what they do, and hopefully they'll one day change. They'll realize, hey, I'm doing this wrong. Let's stop.
So how many Jews have you changed?
I've changed none.
You've changed none of them.
I'm nice to Jews, but the thing is, I don't go out of my way to befriend them. And also, I mean, I'm nice to them. I don't mind them. I don't hate them. There's nothing
because the difference between criticizing the blacks, what Jesse does, and a lot of you guys criticizing the Jews is because Jesse's trying to wake up the blacks. You guys, it tends to be like tickling one another's ears.
Don't fit me into it because I don't hate. I'm just telling you what is going on.
Well, I'm just saying that you guys tickle one another's ears rather than, and meanwhile you won't focus on your own issues, and that's where the problem is.
But it's like the things I'm just calling it out as it is.
But you're calling it out. You're calling it out. I don't know how much of an audience we have of them. We have an audience of blacks, and we have an audience of white Jew haters, and so we need to address the issues of the audience. And the audience tends to be blacks who hate whites and whites who hate Jews. So Jesse deals with those two things. And then we do talk about. I mean, you've heard me multiple times calling out the ADL and others, but it's not really what you guys are about. Is not really helping people. It's not out of love. It's out of resentment about injustice. And I recognize it is injustice. It's evil, but it's not really about love.
I mean, it is about love because I'm like calling it out. I'm not saying anything bad about. Like, I'm not like against anybody. Like, trust me, I really don't hate anybody. I really don't care. Like, I really don't. But like, I'm just letting you know like what is going on, and like these are the things.
I wasn't aware of that. I wasn't so much aware of that low class stuff, but I'm not surprised.
And I mean, like I said, I could go on and on about some of the stuff they do, but like, I mean, I don't want to waste all your time with that. But I mean, the thing is, like, I just want to make sure that everyone calls this spewing this like hate garbage, and they don't really give you like any legitimate reasons, right? But like here, I'm giving you legitimate like things that are going on. These are like truthful things. I'm not lying to you. I'm not just spewing hate.
Yeah, I'm not. And I'm not. But the point is, like, you can have all the facts in the world, but don't have love.
Well, I do have love, and I encourage everybody who's listening who hates Jews. I mean, like, you definitely have a problem with yourself, and it's true, and then you should fix yourself, and don't hate on them. I mean, they are exploiting and doing all this kind of stuff, but don't hate them.
Yeah.
Just, like, do something around your towns and change the things the way they are. I mean, the government's kind of at fault, too, because they allow it to happen. We should be voting in the right people, and we got to just be telling the honest truth. And when it's trained anti-Semitism, like, people say, oh, you're
anti-Semitism doesn't exist.
Crap. What's up?
I said anti-Semitism doesn't exist.
Yeah, I know, but people call you that anyway. Like, people call you racist or whatever the stuff. So I'm just saying, like, when they say that to you, like, don't take it to the heart. Speak your mind and like care about one another and tell the truth.
All right, man. Nice to hear from you, Trenix.
Yep. Well, I just wanted to let you guys know that and
thank
tell
you, man.
you. And yeah.
All right, take care, man.
Taking my call.
Happy White History Month to you.
Thanks. You too.
All right. Bye. Rufus, first-time caller out of Kansas. How are you doing, Rufus?
Man, I'm doing great. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
All right. I just have two questions real quick. I know your time's about up.
All right.
I wanted to ask about Baltimore, L.A., San Francisco, Seattle, all these cities that have all this homelessness and infestation. Yeah.
Rats.
Is there any hope for these big cities? I mean, with their cities and everything. I know what I think the answer is. I just want to hear you talk about that a little bit.
I believe.
And then Go ahead.
I believe there's always hope for these cities.
What do you think is the measures that need to be taken? That was more specific to my question.
Interesting. I think that the people in those cities, first, above all else, need to wake up and start fighting back, setting an example to their kids and to one another, and be kind of like those old school, speaking of white history, pardon my language, but a-hole whites, where they just don't take any mess. Kind of like those, there's something called broken windows policing, where the police will go after any little petty crime in a high crime area, and by going after even the small, tiny crimes, it reduces even the bigger crimes. And
right.
That's what we need, because whites have been so pathetic in not speaking up about evil. They've been like, oh, just wait till I get angry. And meanwhile, they're letting everything go to crap. And I think blacks have done that too. They have this no snitch mentality. And then, there's this enforcement of political correctness that you're insulting these people in these cities by calling them rat infested and stuff like that. We got to get past that namby-pamby stuff and just deal with stuff. And I think that will force the best people to come to the top rather than the worst. Trump is like an example of one of the best rising to the top. And all these black politicians and all these other politicians who have risen to the top are some of the lamest, weakest, evil, nasty people. And like the city council.
James, I'm starting to see something in my city. I'm in Topeka, Kansas.
Okay.
And I'm starting to see some of these things that play in big cities starting to come to my town. And,
yeah.
I'm hearing what you're saying, and I agree that, there's a waking up process that needs to take place. But also, there's some people that need to stand up and need to kind of go back to those old ways.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see a lot of folks standing on the corner with these signs, and they're panhandling, what they call it here in Topeka, they call it aggressive panhandling.
Yeah.
And, I'm seeing when that stuff starts and the police aren't dealing with that, there's no other way for it to go but down.
Yeah. Yeah. Because people have just let it happen. So, Jesse references this a lot, where God had the Israelites roam around in the desert for 40 years or so until one generation died off and then the new generation came back. That's what he's thought would have to happen with blacks, because so many of them are so brainwashed that just kind of let them suffer and die, and then hopefully the younger generation will wake up.
Suffer and die.
Yeah. And a minority of the old people are waking up too, I think, but mainly it's younger people of all races waking up, and that's nice to see. Man,
Rufus. I think
Rufus.
you're right. I think we've got more conservative people in this younger generation than we've had in a long time.
Yeah. Yep. It is so nice to see. And I've seen it with Trump. I've seen it with Jesse at Bond. And it gives hope to America, basically. All right, man.
I agree.
Nice to hear from you, Rufus.
Hey, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Happy White History Month to you.
Happy White History Month. Thank you. Man History coming up.
Yeah, Men's History is coming up. I'm excited. All right, man. Take care. Jim out of Rhode Island, I'm sorry I can't get to your call. He says, thank you for what you're doing at Bond. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate you guys' support. And Men's Forum this Thursday, first Thursday of the month at Bond, is August 1st, 7 p.m. at Bond in Los Angeles. Rebuildingtheman.com/events. And we got more stuff coming up for you, too. All right, guys. See you tomorrow. Thanks again.